Happy New Year, survivors! Looks like you survived 2020. You are listening to a brand new season of All Hope is Lost with your favorite host, James DC. Thank you. Oh, thank you. I hope everyone enjoyed their holidays and good luck with your New Year's resolution. For those new listeners, welcome to the show. And if you haven't listened to the first season, I would highly recommend you do so before listening any further. Don't worry, I'll wait. Wow, that was fast. And for those who have been diehard fan survivors from day one, welcome back. And thank you for showing love to the show. Wouldn't be inspired to do this without the love of the fans. Okay, now without any further ado, survivors, let's get started on the new Part 1 episode titled, If You Can't Stand the Heat, Burn Down the Kitchen. Have you heard the expression, you play with fire and you're going to get burned? An example of this is when you are too close to a candle. As you get closer to the fire, you can feel it getting hotter. Your skin tries to tell you not to go any further, but you can't help yourself and continue reaching until the fire makes contact with your skin and you're instantly feeling the burning sensation. The feeling stays with you for some time as a sort of reminder to never do it again. The name is Bucky, and I have been quarantining at home since March. Don't feel sorry for me, because this is paradise to me. I am what you call a stay-at-home body type of person. Even before this whole pandemic, I wouldn't socialize with others, but I was never alone because I had man's best friend by my side, Jim. He had been my faithful companion for a long time, and he is all the company that I need. I also like to make use of my time by cooking, as it has always been a hobby of mine. I came up with new spins on traditional dishes. Tonight is my favorite day of the month, and because the theme is breakfast for dinner. I know. What a great idea, and you're welcome. Now, back to the story at hand, which is what's on the menu. Bacon and egg panini sandwich with homemade salsa. I had my egg scrambling in one pan, while the bacon was crisping in the other. I wanted to make use of my ingredients, so I kept cooking the bacon using the grease from the previous strip to give it more flavor than the last one. My mouth was drooling from the idea of eating this delicious panini. Then out of the blue, my phone rings from the dresser in my bedroom. I step out of the kitchen for just a brief moment, but not before lowering the stove to prevent any fire from starting while I was away. When I got to the bedroom to answer the call, it was my cable provider.
Hello there.
Offering me some promotional deal this month that I just had to know about right away, and that I needed to take advantage of this fantastic opportunity. For the life of me, I couldn't hear a word the guy was saying because of Jim's constant barking at me during my conversation. It was unusual behavior for him. He wasn't the type to create such a ruckus. I didn't realize he was trying to signal me that there was trouble until all of a sudden, I heard the smoke alarm going off in the kitchen. I immediately rushed back to see what was going on. During my absence, the bacon grease was splattering out of the pan, which eventually ignited the flames beneath and caused a grease fire to break out in the kitchen. Never experienced a grease fire. I tried to distinguish the flames by tossing water into the pan, not knowing that water would essentially be gasoline for the fire. This led to an enormous cloud of fire reaching my hand, leaving me with second-degree burns. Screaming from the top of my lungs, this excruciating pain caused me to pass out on the floor. While unconscious, I was imagining a ring of fire surrounding me, burning everything in its path, while I burned to ashes in the fire. It only took a second for a fire to break out in my kitchen. The last thought running through my mind was, had I just turned off the stove, I wouldn't feel the way I feel now, which is, all hope is lost.
Hello, this is the commercial. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. How, you might ask? Well, let me explain. First off, it's free. and has creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
My eyes were closed, but I can hear a sound from a distance that I could not recognize at the moment, until the sound began escalating, louder and louder. Then I realized the noise was barking. I suddenly opened my eyes to see Jim. My face was drenched from the sloppy wet kisses he was giving me to try to wake me up. I got up to see the fire surrounding my kitchen and progressing at an alarming rate. Standing there during the fire, I inhaled a good amount of smoke, which caused me to cough uncontrollably. I noticed Jim was not being affected by the smoke, so my best guess was to get on my hands and knees to crawl my way to the front door in the living room. I took off my shirt and wrapped it around my face to help me breathe easier and to avoid any more smoke entering my lungs. I crawled my way to the front door in the living room. I was too late, and a piece of the ceiling collapsed in the middle of the living room floor, blocking my exit, which resulted in me finding another way out. The fire had yet to reach the bedroom, so I crawled my way as fast as I could with Jim by my side. I was able to close the door behind me to give me extra precious seconds to escape before the fire entered the room. I managed to open the window and started kicking the screen as hard as I can. The screen eventually gives in and flies right off the window. The fire had reached some flammable items in the bathroom, which led to an explosion on the other side of the door, causing the door to fly off the hinges. The door flames managed to reach my pants. The fire is burning my pants as I toss Jim out the window. Once he was out, he began running around the house, barking on the way to try to get help. The fire had entered the room, burning everything I owned. I had no time to grab any of my belongings. Every second counted, as I was still on fire. I jumped through the window and landed on the grass. I kept rolling back and forth to extinguish the flames. Once it was out, I crawled as far as I can from the burning house. I was trying to catch my breath when I saw Jim had managed to get my neighbor's attention to call for help. I'm on the floor in front of my yard hearing the sounds of fire trucks making their way to the burning house. After that fiasco, I was cooking with a microwave as my new hobby. You made it, survivors. So glad you didn't end up in ashes. Hope you enjoyed part 1 of If You Can't Stand the Heat, Burn Down the Kitchen. This episode was about the dangers of grease fire. As you know, in part 2, I will give you the things to know and the things to have when it comes to putting out a fire, what to do if you can't put out the flames in time, and ways to get out of a burning building. As always, thank you, survivors, and remember, as long as you have hope, you are never lost. This has been All Hope is Lost with James DC. If you liked today's episode, please like, subscribe, rate, or share with a friend to save a life. If you would like to send any comments or questions, please send an email to allhopeislostpodcast@gmail.com or follow our Instagram at allhopeislostpodcast. All writing and auto editing of this show has been done by your host, James DC. This podcast has been brought to you by Drix Audio.